You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel. This is 95.6 BRFM Bridge Radio right here at the Monday Night Community Show with me, Daniel. And now it's time to hear the interviews I did when I spoke to the Kent Association for the Blind Medway Art Group. And I must say a real big thank you to all of them for taking the time out of their art group on the day I visited to talk to me. This is what happened when I was there. So we are out and about, and we're going to be talking to some of the group from the Medway Art Group for the Kent Association for the Blind. You may remember I talked to Wendy a couple of weeks ago, so she's invited me down to join the group, and we're joined with some of the group here now. I'm firstly going to ask you if you could introduce yourself, so I'll go around. So we'll start with you.
Hello, I'm Barbara, and I have been a member of the group for 8 years, and at the moment, we are working at the Royal Engineers Museum, Old Brompton, getting ready to put on a display which will last from the 28th of April to the 13th of July. I'll pass you over to Chris, because I'm sure he can tell you lots of things about it.
Hi, I'm Chris. I've not been with the art group since its beginning, but pretty well nearly that. I started painting quite late in life, though I've been partially sighted all my life, and art has been an amazing experience for me. It's opened up a whole new world that I didn't believe I could actually do, but you know, with Wendy's tuition you realise that you can do these things, and I thoroughly enjoy it, and I would recommend it to anybody. There you go.
Hello, I'm Angie, and I'm a volunteer for the KAB and specifically for the Medway Art Group. Been volunteering about 4 years, and it started through my friendship with Wendy, and I'm also a professional artist.
Hello, I'm Helen. I only joined the group last September, I think. I'd always been very arty before I lost my sight. When I lost my sight, I didn't think that I could do it anymore. I came to the group and it gave me the courage to give it a go, which I'm so glad I did, because I find that by adapting the way that I paint or make things, I can still enjoy it and still produce something worthwhile.
So Wendy is actually with us as well. Wendy, I think you wanted to tell us a little bit about an area before we move on to what you've been doing over the last couple of weeks.
Yes, last week we worked with clay. Brian, who's not with us today, one of his ideas for the exhibition is to make a sculptural piece, and he didn't want to. We call him the dark poet because he's quite deep, dark and macabre. He wanted to make barbed wire. So he did some experiments with clay and with some Fimo that Helen's also been using, and made a fantastic set of sausages. But we thought last week, if the whole group made barbed wire, we've all got our hands on this work, and there was about 40 pieces, 40 lengths of it, and it came out of the kiln last night, and it all survived, and it looks amazing.
Oh, good.
It's really exciting. Yeah, it's really great. All the little barbs have worked. No. So that is a group piece of work, but the idea has come from Brian, and that really will sum up the exhibition.
Well, that's one of the nice things about ceramics, because it starts off such a wet, gooey clay, and yet it completely transforms once it's come out of the kiln.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So we are also joined with a lovely dog. I think it's Rosie. You're going to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, Rosie's Pure Lab. She's my guide dog. She helps me obviously get around, but she is also part of the group, I think, in her own right. She's our mascot, I think, really. She makes sure that she goes round to see everybody when we get here.
She socialises.
She's very sociable, yeah. Make sure she gives everyone's hand a little nudge under the table. So yeah, she's definitely a member of the group. She really enjoys it, I think, as much as I do.
She seems very relaxed and like she's really enjoying it.
Yeah.
She's got used to us now.
I love it that when she comes in and she's got the pink lipstick on the forehead.
That's
Which
me.
means you've kissed her hello.
Yeah.
She's always got lipstick on her
Oh, I
head.
haven't seen that.
Oh, yeah, she does.
Since we missed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, what we've been working on. Today we're doing painting with Peter Reed, who's another professional artist here in Medway, and we're trying to get people to paint loosely to create abstract paintings, but also landscapes based on the work that the Royal Engineers did previously, so that they would make and construct bridges or equipment for the regular army and other services to work with. Last week we did clay, didn't we? So what else have we been doing? Oh, Helen's been working with a clay, not clay, but a flip. FIMO. I can never say the word, sorry. FIMO, to make small-scale sculptures. And each person within the group is very individual and a valued member of the group. And for me as a volunteer, it's great fun for me to come along and share in the work that they do and enable them to do the work. And as an artist myself, I'm always up for a challenge or a laugh.
So each week you've got like a completed piece of work from a different sort of skill?
Sometimes it's completed within, but the idea of this project, it was for 8 weeks, so that as a group we meet for short-term projects. So this project is over 8 weeks, so some people will produce a piece of work each week, but for most of us it's a research trial, testing out pieces. So today is just for people who haven't painted or worked in a very loose way, to test it out, and then maybe next week to carry on that. So at the end of 2 weeks they'll have a finished painting, and then for others it'll be to work over the 8 weeks to create a piece.
My project over the whole period of this course is to actually produce a life-size soldier that's actually made out of using a mannequin, but it's covered in a material with boots painted all over it, which sounds a little bizarre, but that's how I am sometimes.
So, if I could just say something before Barbara, part of my how I see the group, the interaction I like to have is, I'm not going to say we will do this today. It's about listening to people, finding out what they're interested in, and then how might we stretch their ideas. So, for instance, I'll just say a little bit about Barbara. Last year we worked with Rochester Cathedral for Medway Open Studios, and Barbara wanted to do some casting. We've previously, between us, cast about 19 sets of hands in plaster and an alginate from a 3-year-old up to what then was the eldest hands at 87, because it's a little while ago, they've got a bit older, and that was using a traditional casting method. So last year, Barbara had this idea about feet, and the whole project was about pilgrims going through the cathedral, and we noted the graffiti, and suggested that Barbara perhaps works with sellotape, which she did, and she made 20 pairs or 20 sellotape feet, so to do a sellotape casting. This year, I think Barbara's really conceptual, and she's been looking at shell casings. So we can't take a cast of the shell casing, but we've got a friend of ours, Tony Flood, has turned on his lathe a wooden shell case, and Barbara is casting with sellotape. And how many have you made so far, Barbara?
So far I have made 12. I'm not quite sure what the target is, but the whole point of this is, for me it is tactile because I obviously am visually impaired, but also for other people who are visually impaired that will hopefully attend the exhibition, they will be able to feel the things that we have done. Following on from what Angie was saying about the painting, we also have the opportunity to do it, as we say, quite a variety of things. Like I'm working, but most of my work I can do at home, which is good. So I have homework, but we have the opportunity, like today, of using acrylic paints and making a wonderful mess, and then working with clay, which was wonderful. So all these things, it's wonderful to be able to use our fingers where we can't see. We can feel, and aren't we so lucky that we can do these things?
We are here at the Monday Night Community Show with me, Daniel, on 95.6 BRFM, continuing to hear the interviews I did when I spoke to the Kent Association for the Blind Medway Art Group, and we continue by hearing from Helen.
I'm working on some coloured clay, Fimo.
Yeah.
Fimo. I'm finding my way at the moment using very striking colours so that I can see the detail better. Also making tactile things so that visually impaired people can also enjoy the detail, and I've made the Royal Engineers emblem so that they can enjoy the detail in it. When you look at I'm particularly interested in the medals and emblems and things, and when you look at those in the museum, you can't touch, you can't enlarge them, so it's sort of lost on us a little bit. So I'm looking to try and make that more accessible for people with visual impairment.
So Helen was just saying about this being a journey, and she's quite new to the group, so which is fantastic for us because it brings in fresh ideas and fresh questions. We want new questions. And I'm not an art teacher. I'm an artist, and I have a huge interest in tactile works and making artworks, galleries, museums, supermarkets accessible to everybody. And I often have to explain that no, I can't technically teach you to draw a horse because I don't know how to draw a horse, and how my horse will not look like the horse that you're expecting. So this group is very much about journeying and exploring together, and then working out ways to create art, whether it be tactile or not, but we want everyone else to be aware of how it is. If you've got a visual impairment, you're in a gallery and you can't touch it.
And also, as a volunteer within the group, it also informs my art practice as well. And I'm always learning, as well as the members of the Medway Art Group are learning. And I think it's valuable to have volunteers who are also artists, because we can bring a lot to the group, but we can also take away a lot from the group.
So when people want to do things that I can't do, then I look to other people to see how they might help us, and it just stretches all of our imaginations. And I think we're really lucky as a group to have so many artists working with us, and Kate Jones is a glass artist and also a volunteer for the Kent Association for the Blind. Kate's also a photographer, and she runs the photography group for the KAB and the leisure group. So she's a very busy lady, and last autumn, for our project we did with Rochester Cathedral, we were doing printmaking at Intra in Rochester. There's a kiln there which Kate eyed up and then took us through a glass making session, and I'm going to hand over to Chris to talk about that.
Because it was absolutely brilliant. I've never done anything like this before, and to actually get a square piece of glass, and then I think it's called frit, the actual ground glass in different colours that you can put on it, right? And then you put it in the kiln and wait to see the results. And the results are amazing, right? It was one of the most interesting and fascinating things. And actually, I have to say that Intra in itself is a fascinating place with all these wonderful presses and things. So it was a real eye-opener, you know, for someone who'd never got involved in it. And to see this work come out of the kiln, you know, with the way that the colours all blended and everything. People actually see one of my works hanging up in the window and they go, "What is that?"
Oh, brilliant.
And I explain it all to them then, you know, feeling as if I'm very knowledgeable about it all, which of course I'm not really, but...
Could I mention the project we did with Rochester Cathedral? This was 3 years ago. They have the baptismal fresco painted by Sergei Fedorov, which was finished, I think, 2004. It took him 5 years. It's vast, and it doesn't matter how large it is. If you can't see very well, it's a very large thing you can't see very well. So we were asked by the cathedral if we would get involved in their research into how they might make a tactile interpretation. So we met for 9 weeks, studied the fresco, worked out the stories, had lots of help from the cathedral and the welcomers. And my thinking was to break the fresco down into 12 sections. So you might have 12 tiles next to each other in a line, and you would feel the story, and we'd have an audio guide and large print. However, the story is epic, and if I had broken that down into 12 tiles, I would have just made it more confusing for somebody feeling their way along. So what we decided as a group, I should then create the whole fresco. So that's what I did, carved into clay, and that was for over 1,000 hours, and that's been cast in bronze and is in the cathedral forevermore, and it's in front of the fresco. But we got that as a group by being visible within the cathedral and using the space for inspiration for a previous project. And it was the cathedral project that really led us here to the Royal Engineers Museum and meeting Rebecca Gazy, who'd heard of us as a group, and she made the invitation to us to come here to the museum. How might we respond to it and to show our work? So we came up with Through Our Eyes. So it all goes round in circles.
It does, yeah.
Barbara?
May I say about the bronze, the diocese were absolutely thrilled, the dean and the chapter, and they have all said quite individually that it has brought the fresco to life, not only for us, but particularly they have a number of school children that visit the cathedral. And Wendy and I popped in one day, and these lads were and she's put a big notice on, please touch, and even they are touching. And where they used to go around to school parties and somebody would say, that is the fresco, and they just pass on. Now they are stopping and looking and touching, going through the book on the side, and it's sort of much more meaningful to them. So I think this has been a great asset, not only for us, but for people that can see, and especially the young ones. In fact, that particular day we were there, one of the staff came, come along you lads, you'll miss the coach. So they had to sort of whip them away. And it was quite interesting that we should do that and should be there. Yeah, and it was wonderful working in the cathedral.
All over Swale and beyond on 95.6 FM. This is our very own community radio station right here on the Isle of Sheppey, and of course live online from our website brfm.net. We're continuing at the moment to hear the interviews I did when I spoke to the Kent Association for the Blind's Medway Art Group. So, Helen, I think there was something else you wanted to just get over about the
Yes,
group.
I just wanted to point out that although we're called Kent Association for the Blind, most of us aren't completely blind. All of us have different levels of vision. You see different colours, different size of things. I think it's important that...
Yes, you're quite right. I mean, what it is that there used to be the registration was that you were registered blind or partially sighted, and that's why the terminology has changed. Somebody's now registered as either sight impaired or severely sight impaired, and no two people with the same condition will experience the same visual impairment.
No, their perception is completely different sometimes.
It is.
Their perception of the world, can be completely different.
Yes, I mean, from seeing maybe just a small piece or different colours, or
right,
it's like at the weekend there was an issue on Facebook or something about a dress that was in different colours, and that was related to everybody's cones and rods. It's very medical and technical within the back of the eye and how you see it. That didn't mean that you had a visual impairment. It just meant that you saw this dress because it was supposed to be blue and black, but a lot of people were seeing it as white and gold. And I've got normal vision. And I was seeing the dress in gold and white, but other people quite clearly seeing it as black and blue. And it is everybody's visual impairment is very personal.
The other thing, of course, is the fact that in my particular case, it's my brain doesn't recognise what my eyes actually see.
Yes.
They interpret it in a different way.
Yes.
And that's why I can't actually judge distances and dimensions and
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and somebody, that's your condition.
Yes,
And
exactly.
I think the most, not popular is the wrong word, but the biggest eye condition that's affecting people now is age-related macular degeneration, and that's because we're an ageing population. And what happens is all parts of our body grow, change, renew. Our eyes don't. Our eyes are the same from the day we're born to the day we die. So if you think about it, and you're reaching your 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and your eyes are that old, then, that is going to cause a problem. And the eye clinics have lots of people in there receiving treatment daily.
So, Wendy, I was just hoping to finish off, if you could just refresh our listeners when they can come along and see the work.
Yes. Through Our Eyes will open on the 28th of April, and it runs through until the 13th of July, so there's plenty of time to come and see it here at the Royal Engineers Museum in the open gallery. And we have got a special day on Saturday the 23rd of May. We're going to be here as part of Voluntary Arts Week, and we're going to run a tactile art workshop based on our experience in the museum, but invite visitors to the museum to run around, check everything out, and use a foil board and embossing tools to try and create their own literal impression of the museum.
Well, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time out, especially during your art class today, to talk to us here at BRFM.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.